friends, my name is Aubrey. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy to have you all here with me today. So as you can see, the library is back to normal after Christmas. I still have a bit of cleaning up to do, but that's irrelevant. Okay, so today we are going to talk about 26 series that I hopefully, fingers crossed, want to start this year in the year 2025. And you may be asking yourself, Aubrey, didn't you just last week go over all of the series that you're in the middle of and talk about how it was a lot? Yes, I did. But as I've said in some previous videos, I am tired of putting off series just because I'm trying to whittle down that number of series that I have in progress. I'm tired of doing it. I'm tired of putting off things that I'm really excited to read just because for some reason I feel guilty for being in the middle of so many series. That's such a silly thing to feel guilty for. So I'm not going to do it anymore. Will I start all of these this year? Honestly, probably not, but these are the ones that I am most excited at this particular point in time. That could change. I am a mood reader, so what I pick up is determined by, yes, certain things that I really have a goal in mind to read, but then also just my mood on any given day. So this could change, but these are the 26 that at this moment I really would like to try to start this year. I wanted to have 25, nice even, like multiple of 5, but I couldn't, so we have 26. So we're just going to go through these alphabetical because that is how I sort my books. It's how my brain works. So that's what we're going to do. So we're just going to go ahead and get started with the first stack here. And this doesn't mean I don't want to continue any of the series that I talked about last week. I definitely do. But I'm not going to restrict myself. That's kind of the whole point of this, is to look at my options, what I'm most excited to read, and then go from there. And I will link below the video that I'm talking about where I go over all of my series that I'm currently in the middle of. And I will also link, I did a video of standalones and series that I want to continue, especially in 2025. So I will link that below as well in case you're interested in that, because today we are just talking about new series, first books in series. And I guess I should say I'm not including any that are in my seasonal TBRs because I do videos at the beginning of every season, so every 3 months, where I talk about books that I think I really want to read specifically in that season because they fit that season for me. And I do have a number of series in those. Like, for example, in spring I have A Sign of Affection, Honey So Sweet, My Happy Marriage, so just to name a couple. And it's like that with all the seasons. There are some series that I do really want to start. And I didn't talk about books in the seasonal categories in that standalone and series continuing series video either. So those will be discussed, as I said, at the beginning of each season. But I also only included books from my priority TBR, so I do have a number of books that, for space reasons, I can only have so many actually on the shelves in this room at the current moment. And so I do have some that I have elsewhere, kind of like in storage, that I don't want to get rid of because I do want to read eventually, but I'm just not leaning towards reading them currently, if that makes sense. So those are not included on this list either. And some of the books that are in that category, like the non-priority TBR books, are there because they are a later book in a series and I don't have book 1. So then of course they can't be on this list anyway. So that was a lot of talking. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first series that I have here is a Miss Percy Guide, I think is the name of the series. The first book is Miss Percy's Pocket Guide to the Care and Feeding of British Dragons by Quenby Olson. Miss Mildred Percy inherits a dragon. Ah, but we've already got ahead of ourselves. Miss Mildred Percy is a spinster. She does not dance, she has long stopped dreaming, and she certainly does not have adventures. That is, until her great uncle has the audacity to leave her an inheritance, one that includes a dragon's egg. The egg, as eggs are wont to do, decides to hatch, and Miss Mildred Percy is suddenly thrust out of the role of spinster and general wallflower and into the unprecedented position of spinster and keeper of dragons. But England has not seen a dragon since, well, ever. And now Mildred must contend with raising a dragon that should not exist, kindling a romance with a humble vicar, and embarking on an adventure she never thought could be hers for the taking. So this just sounds really cozy and really sweet. I'm really hoping for some good found family in here. And also, one goal of mine this year is to read more dragon series. I love dragons so much. I was always the kid that I would have just absolutely lost it to have a dragon for a pet. I mean, that would have been the ultimate dream. Dragon Rider books, dragons in fantasy, in stories, have always just had my heart. And this one, we have a sweet little baby dragon who hatches and a lady who is forced to take care of it. And I'm just very excited for some really cozy family, and yeah, I'm just really excited. And you'll see some more dragon series on this list as well. So that is the first one. The second series that I have is a light novel series, and that is Associate Professor Akira Takatsuki's Conjecture by Mikage Sawamura. This is book 1, Folklore Studies. So I do have the first 2 books for this. They are quite thin, and there is a manga series, I believe, that's already being printed in English. So if I like the light novels, I will have another way to consume the story as well, which is always fun. Truth is stranger than fiction. Naoya Fukamichi is a university student whose ability to infallibly detect lies has left him friendless and isolated. When he writes a paper about a strange festival he wandered into as a child, though, he catches the fancy of his folklore studies professor, Akira Takatsuki, a handsome and eccentric man with a passion for all things mysterious. Soon, Naoya, I'm really not sure how you pronounce that name, I'm so sorry. Naoya finds himself working as Akira's assistant, helping him interpret an array of unexplainable phenomena, from haunted objects and cursed effigies to urban legends. As this odd couple continues their investigations, however, Naoya realizes that his professor has had a few bizarre childhood experiences of his own. This just sounds really fun, and I've mentioned before, I really love folklore, and Japanese folklore is an area that I'm particularly interested in, and so I think we're going to learn a lot about that in this, and that's really exciting. And I'm also hoping it'll just be really fun, have really interesting characters, and so that is another one that I'd like to start. Next, I have a Don May series, which is Ballad of Sword and Wine, or Qiangjinjiu by Tong Jo Qing. This is book 1. I do also have book 2 in this series. I have been reading Don May lately. It's something that I got into over the last few years, and I've enjoyed what I've read, but I do want to kind of expand to other authors because mostly I've just read Mo Xiang Tongsho's works, which I definitely enjoy. I've only read, I've started one series that wasn't written by her, and then I've read, which was The Husky and His White Cat Shizen, and then I also read Guardian. But I would like to read some more, and this one sounds really fun. It's got some political intrigue, which sounds interesting. Shen Zuochuan is the 8th son of the treacherous prince of Jianxing, a man who doomed his cities and people to destruction at the hands of the foreign enemy. As the only surviving member of his reviled line, Shen Zuochuan bears the hatred of the nation, and no one's hate burns hotter than that of Xiao Qiye, the youngest son of the powerful prince of Libei. Xiao Qiye would love nothing more than to see Shen Zuochuan dead, but against all odds, he clings to life. Rather than succumb to his family's disgrace, he becomes a thorn in Xiao Qiye's side, clawing his way into the cutthroat political world of the capital. Yet as these two bitter enemies struggle against the bonds of their fate, they find themselves drawn together with a force neither expected, and neither can hope to resist. So I'm not always a big fan of enemies to lovers in stories, but this one just sounds intriguing, and like I said, it sounds like it's going to have some political maneuvering in there, and I'm interested in that, so I think this one will be fun. Alright, next we have a nice fantasy series, which is The Bloodsworn by John Gwynne. This is book one, The Shadow of the Gods. The series just recently concluded. It is a trilogy, and now that all three books are out, there's really no reason for me not to read it. I mean, not that I wait for series to finish before I start them, because I definitely do not. But I'm just saying that all three books are out, so if I start this and like it, I can just read all three books. I do only have the first one, because I want to make sure that I enjoy it, but I think I'm going to because everyone else seems to like it, and it is like Viking Norse inspired, I believe, so. Also, these covers are just epic. They are amazing. Legends tell of the great long ago battle of the gods. When the gods fought, it was a battle so savage they destroyed themselves, leaving nothing but their bones and the broken land of Vigrid in their wake. Now, as whispers of war echo over the fjords and across the plains, fate follows in the footsteps of three warriors. A huntress on a perilous quest, a noble woman pursuing battle fame, and a thrall seeking retribution among the mercenaries known as the Bloodsworn. All three will change the course of the world as it once more falls under the shadow of the gods. So, yeah, this just sounds like epic fantasy, which I have been a little lacking in within the last year or so. I mean, I've read some, but I just want to get into more epic fantasy. I love, love, love epic fantasy. And I'm currently reading Murtagh, which is the newest book in the Inheritance cycle by Christopher Paolini, and I love it. So I'm really excited to just add more epic fantasy to my list. And people love John Gwynne, and I've never read a John Gwynne book, which is crazy, because he's so loved in like the fantasy space. So I'm excited to see what all the hype is about. Then we have a series that I've never heard anyone talk about. I got this one partially because it was a cover buy. The cover instantly grabbed my attention, and then the little blurb on the back, the little synopsis, just cemented my interest in reading this. And that is Books of the Usurper by Aaron M. Evans. This is the first book, Empire of Exiles, and I mean, seriously, look at that cover. It's so cool. A scribe, a mage, an archivist, and an investigator. Four unlikely heroes, a secret threatening an empire. 23 years ago, a duke with a grudge led a ruthless coup against his empire, killing thousands. He failed. The duke was executed, a terrifyingly powerful sorcerer was imprisoned, and an unwilling princess disappeared. The empire moved on. Now Quill, an apprentice scribe, arrives in the capital city, believing he's on a simple errand for another pompous noble. Fetch ancient artifacts from the magical imperial archives. But these artifacts are the instruments of revolution, the banners under which the Duke led his coup, and the city has just been shaken by a brutal murder that looks to be caused by a weapon not seen since those dark days of rebellion. With Quill being the main witness to the murder, and with no one in power believing his story, he must join with a young mage, a seasoned archivist, and a disillusioned investigator to find out the truth of the attack, and what they uncover will be the key to saving the Empire or destroying it. Does that not sound great? It sounds so cool, and I've never heard anyone talk about this, and I really, really want to just figure out what's going on here. I don't know if any other books in this are out. I would have to look into that, but either way, I'm really excited to try this. And it's been on my TBR for a while, so like it needs its day in the sun, you know? Then we have some more epic fantasy and more dragons. So we have The Bound and the Broken by Ryan Cahill. This is the first book of Blood and Fire. I don't think I have a synopsis to read for you because this is the Broken Binding edition. Yeah, I do not. But I know that this is like dragon rider fantasy. The big main novels in the series are interspersed with novellas between each installment. So I do have of Blood and Fire, and then the first novella, which is called The Fall. And I know that the books get progressively larger as they go. So I am getting these Broken Binding editions, and these are the only two that are out so far, so these will be the two that hopefully I'll be able to read until the next one comes out. But I'm really excited because so many people praise Ryan Cahill and praise The Bound and the Broken. And like I said, I'm just in the mood for some good dragon stories. So this one is definitely on the list. And And yes, okay, if you've been in my channel, some of these books have been like in previous videos for like priority books to read and whatnot, but last year was just, 2024 was a lot for a lot of reasons, so I didn't get as much read as I wanted to. And I'm not, like I said, making any promises that I'll get all of these read in 2025, but these are the ones that I want to start the most, so hopefully, hopefully I'll be able to get to as many of these as possible. The most important thing though is that I'm enjoying what I'm reading, so that's my main goal for 2025, is just to kind of not have as many expectations for myself and just read what I want, watch what I want, enjoy the stories I'm consuming. That's my goal. But anyway, the next series that we have is The Dandelion Dynasty by Ken Liu. This is book 1, The Grace of Kings. I do have the whole series. When I hauled this series, I explained I love these covers so much. These are just the standard UK paperbacks, and I had been putting off getting them, but I was afraid that they were going to go out of print because the hardbacks are already impossible to find, or I would have gotten those. And then the Broken Binding did this like second special edition release. What were they called? Like the Midnight editions or something like that. And they were gorgeous. They had a dark blue and purple color scheme, but something about this green and pink just really calls to me. So I made a deal with myself. If I didn't get those special editions, I could order the entire set of paperbacks from the UK so that I would have the covers that I like. And so that's what I did. So I do have the whole series, so if I like it, then I can just continue to read. Emperor Mappadere, not sure how you say that. Emperor Mappadere was the first to unite the island kingdoms of Dara under a single banner. But now the emperor is on his deathbed. His people are exhausted by his vast, conscriptive engineering projects, and his counselors conspire only for their own gain. Even the gods themselves are restless. A wily, charismatic bandit and the vengeance-sworn son of a deposed duke cross paths as they each lead their own rebellion against the emperor's brutal regime. Together they will journey to the heart of the empire, witnessing the clash of armies, fleets of silk-draped airships, magical books, and shape-shifting gods. Their unlikely friendship will drastically change the balance of power in Dara, but at what price? This sounds so cool. From what I've heard of it, it's this wide, sweeping scope of a fantasy story. We've got war, we have political intrigue, we have kind of some steampunk elements, which I love. And there was a different synopsis that I saw somewhere on a different edition of this first book that mentioned these two characters, our bandit and our son of a deposed duke, who seem to have some kind of like found family or some kind of bond that they formed together, which I thought sounded really cool in that other synopsis. And I do think that there is a time skip between this book and the second. I'm really not sure. I don't want to read the synopses for any of the others, obviously, because I haven't started the series yet, but I really want to try this. I just think it's going to be so cool. So that one has to be on this list. Then the next series that I have is Dark Rise by C.S. Pacat, or Passat. I'm going to go with Pacat. This is the first book, which is also called Dark Rise. The dark is coming. The ancient world of magic is no more. Its heroes are dead, its halls are in ruins, and its great battles between light and dark are forgotten. Only the stewards remember, and they keep their centuries-long vigil, sworn to protect humanity if the Dark King ever returns. 16-year-old dock boy Will is on the run, pursued by the men who killed his mother. When an old servant tells him of his destiny to fight beside the stewards, Will is ushered into a world of magic, where he must train to play a vital role in the oncoming war against the dark. As London is threatened by the Dark King's return, the reborn heroes and villains of a long-forgotten war begin to draw battle lines. But as the young descendants of light and dark step into their destined roles, old allegiances, old enmities, and old flames are awakened. Will must stand with the last heroes of the light to prevent the dark fate that destroyed their world from returning to destroy his own. This sounds really fun. I've heard that there is some romance in here. I've heard that there is some tragedy in here. I know that the second book, Dark Air, has already been released. And this cover is just really pretty. Like, this cover art, Something about it is just beautiful. So I don't really know what to expect from that synopsis, but I'm intrigued. Next, I have a classic that I would really like to read this year, and that is The Three Musketeers by Alexander Dumas. This is the first book in the D'Artagnan romances. The Count of Monte Cristo is one of my favorite books of all time, also written by Dumas, not part of the series. But I have wanted to get into the D'Artagnan romances for a while. I just, for some reason, have not sat down and read The Three Musketeers, and I need to. I haven't seen any like Three Musketeers movies or anything except for like little like cartoons with animals and stuff as a kid. The only experience that I really have with the D'Artagnan romances and the Musketeers is the movie The Man in the Iron Mask with Leonardo DiCaprio, which was one of my favorite movies when I was younger. I haven't seen it in years, but I loved it so much. And The Man in the Iron Mask is a book later in this series, and I do have a really cool copy my brother found for me to use bookstore, so can't read it yet because I do need to start at the beginning because that's just how I am. But I do really want to read this. Mixing a bit of 17th century French history with a great deal of invention, Alexander Dumas tells the tale of young D'Artagnan and his musketeer comrades, Porthos, Athos, and Aramis. Aramis. Together they fight to foil the schemes of the brilliant, dangerous Cardinal Richelieu. I'm sorry, if I'm butchering these names, they're French names, and I'm really not good at pronouncing French. I have no clue how to read it, so I apologize sincerely. Who pretends to support the king while plotting to advance his own power. Bursting with swirling swordplay, swooning romance, and unforgettable figures such as the seductively beautiful but deadly femme fatale Milady and D'Artagnan's equally beautiful love, Madame Bonacieux, The Three Musketeers continues, blah 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 blah, to define the genre of swashbuckling romance and historical adventure. Okay, so yes, I mean, swashbuckling, fighting with swords in France, in 17th century France, it's just going to be a fun time, and I like a good classic, so that's going to be my classic goal for this year. Okay, then we have a young adult series that I really want to start, which is The Dragon Ships by Scott Rantgen. This is the first book, The Last Dragon on Mars. As I said, I want more dragons this year, so this one is going on the list. Keep your eyes down and your feet moving, or this planet will rust you. That's what Lunar Jones tells the other kids at the relocation clinic. All of them were born on Mars, a planet that never wanted people in the first place. With resources scarce and hope even scarcer, it's easy to get distracted looking up. After all, their ancestors descended from the stars. Martian history always starts with Earth. The first astronauts discovered that space was already occupied, not by little green men or flying saucers. It was full of dragons. One for every moon, every planet, every star. When humanity discovered that Earth's dragon had sacrificed herself to make their home planet habitable, they set their sights on Mars. If one dead dragon could breathe life into a world, why not create another one? Mankind won the war that followed, but with one catch. As the dragon died, he whispered a curse over Mars. The first settlers found their crops wouldn't grow. Animals hunted them. Storms raged endlessly. It took 3 generations to figure out the truth. Mars was doomed. Lunar knows all the old stories about dragons in space, but no one up there is planning to help him or his crew. Instead, he focuses on scrapping valuable gear that the storms uncover in the war zone. It helps that he has a nose for treasure. Until one day, a salvaging run goes wrong. Desperate to find shelter, Lunar goes underground in a restricted zone. What he finds there, buried in the Martian dust, might just be the only hope left for a dying planet. I think we can all guess what he finds. But yes, young adult sci-fi with dragons, which is not a concept I've ever heard before. So I'm really excited to try this, and this edition has really cool sprayed edges. They're so pretty. Yeah, I'm really excited to try this. This is the only book that's out in the series so far, but hopefully it'll scratch that little dragon itch that I have. Alright, now we have our first manga for this list, and that is The Elusive Samurai by Yusei Matsui. In medieval Japan, 8-year-old Hojo Tokiyuki is the heir to the Kamakura shogunate. But the Hojo clan is in decline, and Tokiyuki's peaceful days of playing hide-and-seek with his teachers come to an abrupt end when his clan is betrayed from within. The lone survivor of his family, Tokiyuki is the rightful heir to the throne, but to take it back, he'll have to do what he does best: run away. After the massacre of his family by the traitor Ashikaga Takauji, Tokiyuki flees with the help of a handful of loyal retainers who have also survived the purge. One of them is Suwa Yorishige, an ally of the Hojo clan and lord of Suwa province. The slightly odd Yorishige also claims to be clairvoyant and foretells that Tokiyuki will one day become the ruler of Japan. But for the moment, escaping from enemy territory is the priority. So this sounds like it starts with a similar premise as the heroic legend of Arslan, in that we have a young heir who's, in the heroic legend of Arslan, his kingdom is invaded. In this one, his family is kind of wiped out. And either way, they have to go on the run with someone who is going to help protect them. So kind of similar premise, but obviously this one is set during medieval Japan. So when there are like shoguns and shogunate. And I don't know, the art looks really, really pretty on these covers, and I'm just intrigued. I think that this is going to be a really fun story. I hope that we have cool characters. I hope that we have cool villains. I hope that we have some good old found family and watching this kid learn to have strength and like confidence in himself. I don't know. I just think it's going to be fun. I'm really excited. I'm very hopeful. So that is that one. Then we have another Danmei, and this one is just a duology, and I do have both books, so if I like it, I'll just be able to finish it this year, which would be really nice. But that is Golden Terrace by Tsangwoo Binbai. It is year 25 of the Yuan-Tai era of the Great Zhao Empire. The renowned Marquis of Jingning, commander of the Beiyan cavalry, Fu Shen, is injured on the battlefield at the northern border. Returning with a broken leg to the capital, Fu Shen learns that the emperor has conferred a marriage for him with another man. To make matters worse, Fu Shen's spouse is his political nemesis, the famed imperial investigator of the Fei Long Guard, Yan Xiaohan. In spite of the political differences that stand between them in court, Fu Shen and Yan Xiaohan gradually start to accept each other's presence in their shared home. Yet as they learn to navigate their new life together, it is the calm before the storm. The mystery behind the attack at the northern border begins to unfold, unveiling dangers that threaten the peace of Great Zhao. So again, we've got political intrigue, we have some, maybe not really enemies to lovers here, maybe just rivals to lovers, which again is not always my favorite thing, but for some reason it doesn't sound like it's going to be quite like, oh, we're trying to kill each other kind of situation. And seeing them fall in love, and then this conspiracy perhaps that is has affected their lives. I don't know. I think it's going to be fun. I'm excited to try it. Then we have another manga that I would like to try, which is The Great Cleric. The story was originally written by Broccoli Line, and it's being adapted into a manga by Hiro Akikaze. And this is an isekai or transmigration story, so we have someone coming from one world into a different world. And those can be not great sometimes, in my opinion. Some isekai stories are very much about like fantasy fulfillment in some kind of lewd ways, if that makes sense. But some isekai stories can just be really fun and enjoyable. I like a good isekai story and a good overpowered character as long as it's done well. Like, I really like a Gentle Noble's Vacation recommendation. It's just enjoyable. It's just fun. It's escapist, and I really like it, so I'm really hoping that I like this one. One man's story of turning blood, sweat, and tears into a successful living. Literally. After his untimely demise as the hardest working salaryman in Japan, Luciel is reincarnated into the magical fantasy world Galdardia. Always the man with a plan, he recreates himself to be a healer and sets about making his way in the world. But while Luciel knows a thing or two about making money, he knows absolutely nothing about Galdardia. With his good heart and great work ethic, will his good heart and great work ethic be enough to make him the great cleric? So again, it says it's a wholesome fantasy, so wholesome isekai. It sounds like it's going to be fun. We have, seems like a kind protagonist, which is always nice to see. And like I said, some isekai is just fun. Seeing a character navigate a new world that they maybe have read about, because some isekai they go somewhere that they, like into a story that they're familiar with, which is really fun. And then sometimes it's somewhere that they've never even considered existed, such as it sounds like in this one and also in A Gentle Noble's vacation recommendation. So I think it's going to be fun. I'm excited to read it. I have the first 3 volumes, so hopefully I like it. Then we have another fantasy series that I really want to try, which is The Greatcoats by Sebastian de Castell. This is book 1, Traitor's Blade. I also have the second book, Night Shadow. Sorry, I was trying to see the title from here. Falcio is the first cantor of the Greatcoats, the elite corps of 144 men and women whose mission is to travel the land and uphold the king's law. Highly trained in the martial, diplomatic, and judicial arts, the Greatcoats are heroes to all, the living, breathing symbol of King Palus's enlightened reign. Or at least, they used to be heroes until the powerful dukes, feudal noblemen with territorial ambitions of their own, overthrew and murdered the king, placing the ex-monarch's head on a pike as a warning to his surviving supporters. In the wake of the king's death, Tristia is on the verge of collapse. The one glimmer of hope for the restoration of order is the secret set of instructions given separately to each one of the Greatcoats by King Palus before his death. If Falcio and his best friends Brasti and Kest have any hope of fulfilling the king's mysterious final mission, they must find a way to reunite their fellow Greatcoats, or else they must stand aside and watch as the world they were sworn to defend goes up in flames. This sounds so good, and we have these people who are just genuinely noble, like not noble as in nobility, but noble as in good, and trying to do what's right, and it just sounds so good. And I know that Sebastian de Castell is writing more books in this world, that series is kind of ongoing, that takes place in the same world as the Greatcoats. So I really want to get into this, and I've heard people talk about how great it is. And so I'm excited. It just sounds like we're going to have really, really great characters. Yeah, I love a good story about a knight or a warrior who is sworn to a cause and upholds their sense of honor and stuff. I'm a sucker for that, so I'm really excited for that one too. Then we have The Hierarchy, or just Hierarchy, sorry, no the. Then we have Hierarchy by James Islington. This is the first book, The Will of the Many. The second book I've heard will potentially come out this year, so I'd really like to read the first book before the second one comes out. I really would. And I loved the Lycanius trilogy, which was James Islington's first series. I love it so much. So I'm really excited to see how he's grown as an author between that series and this one. And Patrick-Leo loved this book, and I feel like he has pretty good taste in fantasy, so I'm excited to try it. Adi Vide Tassi? Adi Vide Tace. I'm sorry, I'm really not very familiar with Latin either. I know like a little bit as far as pronunciation goes. I can't speak it or translate it, but not much. The Catanan Republic, the hierarchy, may rule the world now, but they do not know everything. I tell them my name is Vis Telemus. I tell them I was orphaned after a tragic incident 3 years ago, and that good fortune alone has led to my acceptance into their most prestigious school. I tell them that once I graduate, I will gladly join the rest of civilized society in allowing my strength, my drive, and my focus, what they call will, to be leached away and added to the power of those above me, as millions already do, as all must eventually do. I tell them that I belong, and they believe me. But the truth is that I have been sent to the academy to find answers, to solve a murder, to search for an ancient weapon, to uncover secrets that may tear the Republic apart, and that I will never ever cede my will to the empire that executed my family. To survive, though, I will still have to rise through the academy's ranks. I will have to smile and make friends and pretend to be one of them, and win. Because if I cannot, then those who want to control me, who know my real name, will no longer have any use for me. And if the hierarchy finds out who I truly am, they will kill me. So yeah, this sounds really cool. I know that part of this it's either Greek or Roman inspired. I'm gonna guess Roman. And we have obviously an academic setting, which is always fun in my book. So I'm really excited to try this. I really hope I love it just as much, if not more, than the Lycanius trilogy. So that one had to go on this list too. Then we have a nice, sweet little wholesome series, and that is the Kamigawa Food Detectives by Hisashi Kashiwai. This is the first book of the same name as the series. And look how cute this cover is. It's so adorable. What's the one dish you'd do anything to taste just one more time? Down a quiet back street in Kyoto exists a very special restaurant. Run by Koichi Kamigawa and her father, Nagare, the Kamigawa diner serves up deliciously extravagant meals. But that's not the main reason customers stop by. The father-daughter duo are food detectives. Through ingenious investigations, they are able to recreate dishes from a person's treasured memories, dishes that may well hold the keys to unlocking their forgotten past and future happiness. The restaurant of lost recipes provides a link to vanished moments, creating a present full of possibilities. It says it's a mouth-watering celebration of good company and the power of a delicious meal. It sounds so cute, and it is a series, so there are other books, I do believe, that are already out. I think at least one other is already out. And I really like wholesome, cozy Japanese stories. So I think that this is going to be right up my alley, and I think my mom will really like it too, so maybe we'll read it together. That'd be really nice. And then I have another light novel series that I would like to try, which is Kunon the Sorcerer Can See by Umikaze Minamino. And this edition, I think, does have illustrations, yes, so it is illustrated by Laruha. Kunon the Sorcerer has a dream. Kunon Gurion was born without sight and unsure of his purpose in life, but everything changes when he resolves to find a way to use magic to see. This is a feat no sorcerer has ever accomplished or even tried, and it won't be easy. Kunon's single-minded ambition leads him to quickly surpass his teacher, and with only a few basic spells he can already sense color, produce useful items, and create a lifelike cat from water. Word of his skills and ingenuity soon reaches the castle, which earns him a rare chance to study under a powerful new mentor. But is Kunon's goal even attainable? So this just sounds, again, like we have kind of a wholesome story, I think. I mean, I'm sure there will probably be some darker themes somewhere in this series. And I do have the first 2 volumes of this as well. But I just really like this concept that this young man, this kid, perhaps, I'm not sure how old he is trying to become a sorcerer just so he can see. Like, that already endears him to me a lot. So this is one that I definitely want to try. And I love, like, some magic in my books. And I hope that they talk about, like, how he's doing the magic and what he's learning. And that just sounds like a lot of fun. So. Alright, then we have some more fantasy. So we have The Last Legacy by James Logan. This is book 1, The Silver Blood Promise. This is another one where the second book comes out this year, or is slated to come out this year. So I would really like to read the first one, hopefully before it comes out. I'm not sure when it comes out, so at least within the year that book 2 comes out. Especially since this edition is from the Broken Binding 2 and is gorgeous, and I may have to order similar edition for book 2. Lucan Gardova is a card-sharp academy dropout and, thanks to a duel that ended badly, the disgraced heir to an ancient noble house. His life consists of cheap wine, rigged card games, and wondering how he might win back the life he threw away. When Lucan discovers that his estranged father has been murdered by unknown assailants, he finds fresh purpose. Deprived of his chance to make amends for his mistakes, he vows to unravel the mystery behind his father's death. His search for answers leads him to Sophrona, fabled city of merchant princes, where anything can be bought if one has the coin. Lucan only seeks the truth, but instead he finds danger and secrets in every shadow. For in Sophrona, everything has a price. and the price of truth is the deadliest of all. So we have murder mystery. It sounds like it might kind of be quite emotional in this estrangement between him and his father that he doesn't get a chance to fix before his father dies. And so that's going to be something. Plus, there's a dragon on the end papers of the Broken Binding edition. Like, do you see the dragon? So I'm very intrigued. And I've heard such high praise for this. People seem to really love it. So I'm ready to find out why. Then we have a series that I have been wanting to read for quite some time, and that is The Mortal Techniques by Rob J. Hayes. That's right. So this is book 1, Never Die. Again, this is the beautiful Broken Binding edition. There is a very, very short little synopsis here that I'll read. But I'm just really intrigued by this whole premise. Ein is on a mission from God, the god of death. Time is up for the Emperor of 10 Kings, and it falls to Ein, an 8-year-old boy, to render the judgment of the Reaper. He can't do it alone, but luckily the world is full of traveling heroes. There's only one catch. In order to serve him, they must die first. Tell me that is not super intriguing. And again, people love Rob J. Hayes. I've never read a Rob J. Hayes book, and this series just sounds so cool. Why did we choose an 8-year-old boy to carry out this mission? Don't know. Doesn't seem like something a typical 8-year-old should be doing, but and I know that a new book for the series is supposed to come out this year, I think, as well. So I will not be caught up on it by then, because again, I'm doing these Broken Binding editions, and so far this is the only one out. But I at least want to start it. I at least want to start it. Then we have another manga series, and I'm going to be honest, I mean, I've wanted to read this one for a while, but the main reason it's on this list is because Caitlin from Cake Tins just raves about it. This is one of her favorite series. And again, it's been on my TBR for a while. I have the first 4 volumes, but just hearing her talk about it makes me want to read it even more to know why she loves it so much. So I've put it on the list. And that is The Other World's Books Depend on the Bean Counter by Kazuki Iridori. The original story is by Yatsuki Wakatsu, because there is a light novel, but they are releasing the manga first in English for some reason. Although I do think at least the first volume of the light novel has now since been published in English, which is nice. But hopefully I really like this, and then if I do, maybe I'll switch over to the light novel before I continue the manga. We'll see. Once upon a time, in the not-too-distant past, a holy maiden was summoned. Not just any holy maiden, one hailing from modern Japan. But this story is not her story. This is the tale of the humble accountant, Kondo, who accompanied her in his trials and woes as he accounts in a new world. Accounts. Oh, because he's an accountant. That's right. The phrasing here is a little strange. But no tale is complete without a love interest, and who better to play that role than the handsome knight captain Aresh? Will he begin a personal quest to save said bean counter, who toils around the clock, or is Kondo doomed to be married to his work evermore? Yeah, it's another isekai story, and again, Caitlin loves it, and I want to know why. So that one goes on this list too. And then I have another light novel series. So this is Onmyoji and Tengu Eyes by Yoshiko Utamine. This is book 1, The Spirit Hunters of Tomoe. A supernatural mismatch made in heaven. Paranormal incidents heat up when 2 mysterious men cross paths in Tomoe, a small town in Hiroshima with a long history of supernatural encounters. Misato Miyazawa is a strikingly beautiful young man with a troubled past. Born to a distinguished family of Onmyoji, specialists in divination, Misato is no stranger to the occult. That's why he jumps at the chance to join the Abnormal Disaster Unit in Tomoe's Town Hall Crisis Management Division, a unit more commonly known as the Spirit Hunters. Enter Ryoji Karino, a fiery, handsome man with peculiar green and silver eyes. Working as a freelance monk and raised by a man claiming to be a Tengu, Ryoji is by no means an average citizen. When he finds Misato in a sticky situation, he kindly steps in, and the mismatched pair end up living together. What dark mysteries will unravel before them as they attempt to confront paranormal happenings under the constraints of government rules? So again, we've got paranormal, folklore, kind of an unlikely duo here. And I just think it seems really fun. I don't really have any other reason it's on here except I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And sometimes you need a story that's just a lot of fun, you know? Right. And then moving to another humongous epic fantasy, we have Tales of Tremaine by R.R. Verde. Book 1 here, the first binding. All legends are born of truths, and just as much lies. These are mine. Judge me for what you will, but you will hear my story first. I buried the village of Ampur under a mountain of ice and snow. Then I killed their god. I've stolen old magics and been cursed for it. I started a war with those who walked before mankind and lost the princess I loved and wanted to save. I've called lightning and bound fire. I am legend, and I am a monster. My name is Ari, and this is the story of how I let loose the first evil. So I've heard a lot of people compare this to The Kingkiller Chronicle by Patrick Rothfuss, and some people... Sorry, I've got like a hair stuck to my face and it's tickling me. Some people give it a lot of flack for that and say that it's too similar. I'm okay with stories having a similar premise. That doesn't bother me, as long as they are, different as far as the characters and things like that go. And I've heard, again, Patrick Leo really like this. He said that it wasn't as... I think it was Patrick Leo. Am I getting that wrong? I think it was. Said it wasn't similar enough to the point where he felt like they were copying. And I've also heard that the second book does give it some more of individuality. So I do really want to try this. It is a humongous first book, but I'm really excited because I really like these... I really liked The Kingkiller Chronicle, and I think that this one is also going to be a framed narrative where we have the main character telling their story from the present timeline, and so then you get to see how they ended up there. That's the gist that I get from the synopsis and from the comparison to The Kingkiller Chronicle, so that's what I'm expecting, but I'm very excited to try this. And it has, this series, the first 2 books, have some of the prettiest covers. They almost look painted, and there's just something about the color schemes that are just gorgeous. Alright, so now we are down to the last 4. So this next one is another fantasy series. This one is huge. There are 9 books in this first series in this world. Then there is another trilogy, and then there is an ongoing series after that that is a prequel to the other 2 that so far has 2 books out. So, there's a lot to commit to here, but you know what? I am really excited for it. And that is Verda by Philip C. Quaintrell. So this is the first series in Verda, the Echo Saga, and this is the first book in the Echo Saga, Rise of the Ranger. The echoes of fate, a prophecy uttered unto the world 1,000 years ago, cannot be denied. I can't talk today, I'm so sorry. Mankind has lorded over the land of Ilion for 1,000 years, enjoying what was left to them by the elves as if it were their birthright. 1,000 years is a long time for an immortal race to see the error of their ways and realize a truth that has remained unsaid for a millennia. Elves are superior. They are faster, stronger, and connected to the magical world in a way that man could never grasp. Ilion is their birthright. The 6 kingdoms of man are fractured, unallied, and always clawing at each other's doors for more power. War is coming. Thrown into the heart of this war is an outlander of the wilds, an assassin, a ranger. Asher was born 1,000 years ago, but he doesn't remember. 40 years of brutal training and killing for money has beaten the earliest years of his life away, leaving his ties to the oldest of evils a mystery to all. Yeah, this sounds really, really cool. And we have a dragon. I know they're not mentioned in the synopsis, but there's a dragon on the cover, so that also gets my attention pretty quickly. And again, it's a lot of books in this series. I am for now saying the Echo Saga is going to be started this year. I cannot promise I will get to the other series in 2025 within this world, but I've been wanting to read this for a while, and I've been putting it off because, again, like I said, I've been putting off starting new series, especially really long ones that are going to be a big commitment, because not even wanted, I felt like I needed to whittle down the number of series I'm currently reading, and that's silly. And I'm really excited about this, and I want to read it, so I'm going to do it. Also, I've heard that some people are doing a read-along of this series that's starting this year, so I don't know if I will keep on track with that, but that's really cool because that'll give me some content to engage with as I'm reading it too, so that's pretty neat. Okay, then we have two more kind of bigger worlds series that have a bunch of other series that make them up. So the first one is the World of the Five Gods is this one. Yes, so The World of the Five Gods by Lois McMaster Bujold. This is the first book in it, The Curse of Shalion. And I cannot remember this series name because I know that it has, I think, a trilogy. And then there is another series that is ongoing that is really long called Penric and Desdemona that takes place in this world. And I don't know if there are any other books in this world at the moment. But I've been collecting all of the Penric and Desdemona books in the Subterranean Press editions because I love the cover art. And I have all of the ones that are out so far. I've gotten most of them secondhand. There were quite a few library copies that I was able to get a hold of. And then the two most recent that I was actually just able to order from Subterranean Press as they were announced. And there's another one that have I pre-ordered it, or is the pre-order going to happen this year? I can't remember. I keep a list on my phone of everything that I have ordered or pre-ordered, so I can check there, but I'm recording, so I can't look. But I've either already pre-ordered it or the pre-order is going live this year, and I will do so. But because of that, I really need to just get into this world so I can read the first trilogy and then get into the Penric and Desdemona books. A man broken in body and spirit, Kazaril returns to the noble household he once served as page, and is named secretary tutor to the beautiful, strong-willed sister of the impetuous boy who is next in line to rule. It is an assignment Kazaril dreads, for it must ultimately lead him to the place he most fears, the royal court of Cardagos, where the powerful enemies who once placed him in chains now occupy lofty positions. But it is more than the treacherous intrigues of villains that threaten Kazaril and the Royess Issel here, for a sinister curse hangs like a sword over the entire blighted house of Shalion, and only by employing the darkest, most forbidden of magics can Kazaril hope to protect his royal charge, an act that will mark him as a tool of the miraculous, and trap him in a lethal maze of demonic paradox. That sounds really intriguing, and I'm not sure if we're going to have a more Avalon Camelot type setting or a more desert setting. The stylized border seems very Middle Eastern to me for some reason, but then we have the style of castle looks very Camelot-esque. So I'm not really sure what kind of setting we're getting, but either way, it'll work for me. So I'm excited for that one. And then the other one is The World of the White Rat. So we have The World of the Five Gods and then The World of the White Rat by T. Kingfisher. So this is the first book of the first series in this world. So the first series in The World of the White Rat is Clock Tower War, and this is book 1, Clockwork Boys. A paladin, an assassin, a forger, and a scholar ride out of town. It's not the start of a joke, but rather an espionage mission with deadly serious stakes. T. Kingfisher's new novel begins the tale of a murderous band of criminals, and a scholar, thrown together in an attempt to unravel the secrets of the Clockwork Boys, mechanical soldiers from a neighboring kingdom that promise ruin to the Dowager's city. If they succeed, rewards and pardons await, but that requires a long journey through enemy territory directly into the capital. It also requires them to refrain from killing each other along the way. At turns darkly comic and touching, Clockwork Boys puts together a broken group of people trying to make the most of the rest of their lives as they drive forward on their suicide mission. So Clock Tower War itself is a duology, and as I said, is the first series in The World of the White Rat, and I've never read any T. Kingfisher, but she has really just blown up the last few years, and I really want to get into her fantasy. And they are releasing beautiful new editions of these books because these little paperbacks are really expensive and hard to get a hold of. So I may order the new editions of Clockwork Boys and then the sequel, the name of which I cannot remember at the moment. And that way I can have matching editions and not have to spend a fortune for a tiny little paperback to match this. But yeah, I'm excited to try this and get into some also other series in this world, such as Saint of Steel. Swordheart is a standalone in that world. And I think there are others, but I can't think of them off the top of my head right now. So that's definitely one that I want to start. And then finally, we're going to end with a manga, a little sweet romance manga, and that is Wotakoi, Love is Hard for Otaku by Fujita. Games over romance. Narumi Momose has it rough. Every boyfriend she's had dumped her once they found out she was an otaku, so she's gone to great lengths to hide it. When a chance meeting at her new job with childhood friend, fellow otaku, and now co-worker, Hirotaka Nifuji, almost gets her secret outed at work, she comes up with a plan to make sure he never speaks up. But he comes up with a counter-proposal. Why doesn't she just date him instead? In love, there are no save points. So Wotakoi seems so cute. If you don't know what an otaku is, it is a Japanese term that refers to someone who is really, really, really into something that might be considered quote-unquote nerdy, even though I hate that word. So, for example, video games, anime, manga, comics, books in general, anything like that, card games, you know. So we have, looks like he might be a gamer, and she might be into manga from this picture. That's the impression I'm getting. But I know we follow a couple of different couples in this series. A few different couples in this series. And it just seems really sweet and wholesome. And there's so much love for Wotakoi. And I really want to try it. I really, really do. So I have, I think, 2 or 3 volumes in the series. So it's going on the list. I really want to try Wotakoi this year. Okay, so that's 26 series that I really want to start in 2025. It's a lot, and some of these books are quite large. So, again, I can't promise I'll get to all of them, but these are the ones that I'm most excited to start this year. As far as series go, they're the ones that I'm just really leaning towards at the moment, and I mean, again, it may change. Maybe I'll start different series, other series that are not on this list. But these are the ones that I'm just really leaning towards at the moment. And I'm really excited. I'm really excited to kind of take this restriction off of myself and just be able to read what I want without feeling guilty. That is my goal this year. And so that's what I'm going to do. So thank you guys so much for watching. Are there any series that you would really like to start this year? I would love to hear about it in the comments, maybe some of these or maybe different ones. Or if me talking about these has made you want to try them, please let me know. I would love to hear that. It would be so fun to be reading the same series at the same time. That would be cool. Or if you've read any of these and you want to hype me up for them, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well. But as always, please keep your comments spoiler free. But if you guys want to leave an emoji, let's do a little dragon since I have my dragon series. Or what other things do I have? I've got a lot of series that involve magic, so I don't know if there's a little magic wand, or I don't know. Pick your favorite emoji that represents one of these series that I've picked. There you go. If you don't want to go with a dragon, you can just pick your favorite emoji that represents one of these series. So if you want to leave an emoji with your comment, or if you want to let me know you're here but you're not sure what to say, you can just pop an emoji down there. I genuinely love seeing you guys' comments and talking with you. It really makes me very happy, so I appreciate it. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day or a wonderful night wherever you are, and I hope to see you in my next video. And here is to a fantastic 2025 for all of us. Bye!